an interactive approach to improving the lives of older adults. That's our Techstination. I'm Fred Fishkin, and we're happy to have with us the co-founder of Get Set Up, Lawrence Kosick. Great to see you, Lawrence.
Great to be here, Fred. Thanks for having me.
Well, GetSetUp.io is a learning platform, a gathering place for older adults to learn just about anything, it seems, and a place for people to share what they know. Give us the story of how this came about. My understanding is it had its start at the top of a mountain, maybe, or in the Himalayas.
That's true, Fred. I originally met my co-founder, Neil D'Souza, 8 years ago on a mountain bike trip in the Himalayas, and we've been fast friends ever since. And one of the problems that we would talk about every time we would meet to ride our bikes or go for a run, we would always talk about our parents and how we were trying to sort of help them with technology, and they live in different places, and so we would struggle with how to be good tech support for our folks, help them get set up on their smart devices, help them get set up with basic, Zoom, email, how to use Facebook safely. And we finally realized, there's really no safe, secure place for older adults to learn, connect, and socialize. And yet there's a platform for every other age group and demographic. Why not this one? Because this is arguably the largest portion of the population. And in the next probably 20 to 30 years, a third of the world is going to be over 60. So we thought this was both a big problem and a big opportunity to address.
And so this was born from the mountain biking in the Himalayas. And today there are hundreds of classes available, from fitness and cooking to tech skills you were talking about, art and travel, just about you name it, I suppose. What have some of the most popular been?
Well, as the name would suggest, we started with basic tech and helping folks get set up with whatever smart device they happen to have in their home. So an iPhone, an iPad, Android tablet, a laptop, desktop, whatever it was they had. We wanted to get them comfortable enough so that we could get them into their first class and turn on video. And in many respects, those remain some of the most popular classes because it's the perfect place to start. If you can't get somebody into that class, then they can't really take that class. And so the tablets and the iPad classes, the Zoom classes, the laptop classes, basic tech are very, very popular initially. But then once the learner becomes comfortable with the basic device and technology, they get into their first class, it really does open up a whole new universe of anything and everything they can take. And then we see a variety of other classes become more popular. And those can be, health and wellness classes, exercising at home, healthy cooking, virtual museum tours and walking tours in cities like Sydney or Mumbai. We see other classes become popular once they become comfortable with the initial tech.
And many of the classes are live. There's also streaming as well, or how does it work?
Yeah, we believed that, our demographic, myself included, we learn better by doing than by watching. And so we felt that the classes needed to be interactive so that we could, turn on our cameras, ask questions, make mistakes, feel comfortable doing so, make new friends in the class. And that required a very sort of interactive environment. There are some recorded on-demand classes. Those are usually used to review and practice later. But most of the classes are live interactive classes where people can talk, learn, and make friends.
How much does it cost? I mean, affordability is a big issue for a lot of people in the demographic that you're after.
Yeah, it's always been our goal to make these classes as accessible as possible. And so we realized that for a lot of our older adults, they're on fixed income, they're on pension. So making it as either inexpensive or free as possible to take these classes were important. And so what we've done is we've partnered with organizations in many cases, who offset the cost of these. So it becomes sort of inexpensive or free to the end user, but it's paid for by, healthcare companies, Medicare companies, and other organizations who want to provide these classes to their member users.
And you just announced another new partnership along those lines too, right? With Tivity Health Partners?
We did indeed. We did indeed. We're proud of that one because Tivity, which owns Silver Sneakers, arguably one of the most popular supplemental benefits for older adults as part of Medicare Advantage plans, we'll be partnering with them to make our classes and Get Set Up available to their 70 plus Medicare Advantage plans, which services 18 million eligible members. So that's an exciting one for us.
Terrific. Meanwhile, you've provided employment opportunities for quite a few people who are teaching. You call them guides, I think.
We do call them guides. Yes. Early on, Fred, we thought perhaps the best way to approach teaching a older adult who might be hesitant about learning new technology is have that be taught by another older adult. And so the way that unfolded was we started reskilling and upskilling older adults, mostly retired teachers initially. That's evolved, but mostly retired teachers. And those folks would teach other older adults the things they needed to learn to live happy, healthy, more connected lives. So on one side, we had an economic opportunity for somebody who had wisdom and knowledge to share and to teach. And on the other side, we had learners who either wanted or needed to learn specific subject matter. And the exciting thing we've seen, Fred, is that a lot of the learners after 5, 10, 20 classes, they raise their hand and they say, well, I used to be a former doctor, lawyer, nurse, yoga instructor. I'd like to learn how and teach on the platform. And so we find that a lot of the learners become contributors and then creators on the platform.
That's really interesting. And of course, they're familiar with the community from the start, and they know how it works.
Absolutely.
You have another new partnership that was announced not long ago with Uber, which is interesting. Tell us about that.
Yes, I mean, Uber is an important partnership and an important service for our demographic. If you think about older adults, in many cases, not having friends, family, or loved ones, and therefore being quite isolated, they have to have a way to solve for mobility, meaning how do they get to the doctor's, that important doctor's appointment? How do they get to the grocery store, the post office? And so for lack of perhaps having a loved one or any other ability to get to those appointments, helping them use ride sharing services becomes incredibly important. And so we started with the basics, which was help older adults download the Uber app, learn how to sort of authenticate, configure it, learn the features and the functionality, learn how to safely book a ride so that they could get to whatever appointment they needed to get to. And that's been incredibly important because an older adult that now has the ability to sort of get to these important things has the ability to sort of age in place and be more independent because they're both, sort of healthy and happy at home, and they can do what they need to do when they need to get out of the house.
Mobility is
It's key.
really, really important. Sure. So there are some other online learning destinations for seniors out there. What do you think the things are primarily that set you apart?
I think there's several, and those institutions do great work. I think we approach it differently. I think we're the first to really think about why not have older adults teach other older adults and have our learners empowered to help each other. And I think that was important because when you have an older adult teaching another older adult, there's a level of comfort, empathy, patience, cadence that's similar, and it relaxes the learner. And keep in mind that, in some of these cases, they've not been on the internet before, they've not used their device to get into a video class before. And so there can be some fear and hesitation, but when we see somebody who's a similar age and they've done it, we think, well, we can do it too. And so it was this real sort of this peer-to-peer or senior to senior format that we took, and then making it comfortable and sort of live and interactive, we think really sort of set us apart and allowed us to provide a learning environment that felt comfortable and safe, that was just different than what anybody else was doing.
Well, the pandemic certainly got more people to look into online learning, online everything, really. The impact on you.
Well, we thought this was a big problem and opportunity even before the pandemic. So we launched this business, 3 or 4 months prior. I think the pandemic really sort of underscored the importance of helping older adults learn to access any and every service virtually, so that they could access whatever it was they needed from the comfort of their own home, and do it safely. And so the pandemic, created even more attention and highlighted the problem that an already sort of isolated demographic absolutely needed virtual help. And so we were both excited and blessed to be able to provide that and be sort of in the right place at the right time. And I think it allowed our business to grow much faster than we otherwise expected, because now folks really needed to learn some of these services to live safely, happily, and more connected at home.
And they can get onto it from any kind of device, or they're.
Yeah, we try to make it as easy as possible to get folks into their first class, and we see all manners of devices, as you can imagine. But it's laptops. In some cases, it's desktops. It's more likely to be mobile devices. So an Android, iPhone, or tablet, are generally the most popular. But we oftentimes have to help them with their cameras, help them power up the device. Might have to help with installing the latest browser operating system. We really do provide a level of hand holding so that we can take some of that tech friction away and get them into that first class, whatever it takes.
What are some of the things that you'd like to see get set up, move into, or accomplish looking ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Fred, that offering more curriculum and more languages is always important. If you think about, older adults, here in the US, we're all first, second, third, fourth generation immigrants, which means we've all come from other places. So older adults oftentimes, they need help in other languages. So for us to offer more classes in some of those other languages would be wonderful. We have 5, I think now 6, 5, maybe going on 6 languages, but we would like to offer more and more classes in more of those languages. And then I think, we continue to think about how can we make the platform and the classes more engaging? How do we help folks go from a learning experience to a more social experience, so that it's comfortable and they can make new friends and they can come back and take classes with those friends? And so, sort of engagement and retention are sort of the ultimate metrics for us. And I think anything that we can do that makes it a comfortable place for folks to sort of come learn, but also hang out and come back with friends, I think are important things for us to think about as we look ahead.
How have you managed, maybe it's not an issue at all, but how have you managed to navigate around the social divisiveness that we're seeing out there today in the US and elsewhere?
I know it's it's a fine line, but I think, we're a learning platform, and, we keep the subject matter, I think, to things that people want or need to learn to live happy, healthy, more connected lives. I think we generally stay away from sort of, political or religious subject matter. I think people, if they want to go and sort of argue or fight about those things, there's plenty of other places to do it. Facebook's probably, one of the more popular ones. We want it to be a community destination where people are coming together, they're helping each other. It's a safe, fun, positive place to be. And I think that you can absolutely do that while avoiding, politics and religion and some of those other more contentious topics. And I think people actually want to find a place where they can sort of escape those subject matters. I think there's a level of fatigue we have around sort of the political divisiveness, and so we're that place that you can go to safely and comfortably learn, hang out, and socialize with others like you.
Terrific. And that place, once again, is getsetup.io. Lawrence Kosick, thank you so much for taking the time with us, and congratulations on all your accomplishments.
Thank you, Fred. It's always nice to be here. Appreciate it.